Hello, welcome everyone to this channel. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today I'm in the book of Chronicles. I'm in part 2 and today I will be covering two chapters. That's chapter 32 and chapter 33. So we've got a lot of ground to cover, so we'll get quickly started. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, you will know that King Hezekiah has really flourished in the eyes of the Lord. He's prospered, he's done well, he's built up cities, he's got them following the Passover dates and festivals and following all the laws of God's temple, and things are really starting to grow and develop and prosper in Jerusalem. So in chapter 32, it starts by saying, having become so faithful to God and building up the temple and the cities surrounding Jerusalem, now we see Sennacherib, who is the king of Assyria, he is setting to attack Jerusalem. Now what he's done is he's encamped around the fortified cities of Judah, and he's planning basically to take them over. Now when King Hezekiah realizes that they're encamped around him and of their intentions to attack, he then gets all the leaders around his city to come forth. And his plan is to stop all the spring water around those areas. So the leaders and the people pull together and they stop all of the springs around Jerusalem and the brook as well. So this is a pretty good plan to stop the Assyrian kings. You know, we all need water to survive, right? So if you reduce that, it's going to make it harder for them. So that's their plan and that's what they have instigated. King Hezekiah has also built up all of the broken walls around them and raised up the towers. So this gives them security and it also gives them that height so they can see any oncoming enemies of the Assyrians. He also makes lots of weapons and shields for his army. And then he gathers his army captains and he sends them a message. He tells them to be strong, be courageous, to know that they've got God on their side, so they have the power and the force behind them. And this really lifts the spirit of the people as they are going into battle with the Assyrians. Now Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, he starts a psychological warfare on the Judah camp. First he sends servants to Jerusalem to carry out a message for him. Then he sets a siege on Lakish, which is 30 miles southwest of Jerusalem. And these servants come and they put these seeds of doubt into the Israelites of Judah. And this is what they say. They say, who do you trust when you are under siege now in Jerusalem? They say, King Hezekiah, your king, has removed the high altars from all around you, so you've only got one altar now to worship your God, meaning that the other altars taken down is like, a weakness for them. And then they remind them, do you not know what our fathers and we have done to the people and the lands around us? They say, our God has delivered these people into our hands. And they say, do not allow King Hezekiah to give you this false impression that you are going to win over us. Because what they're saying is the proof is in the pudding, look around you. The Assyrians have taken over and dominated so many cities around them, and they're like trying to push this fear into the hearts and minds of the people of the Judah tribe. And King Assyria is also not just sending these servants, he's sending letters. And also they've got people outside of the wall, the gate of Jerusalem, shouting up in Hebrew to the people saying that we are going to attack you and we're going to win. It's like they're trying to make them crumble. So King Hezekiah, he prays to God along with his prophet Isaiah, and they pray and they cry to heaven. And the Lord answers them, and he sends down an angel that strikes out all of the captains and all of the leaders of the Assyrian army. So Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, he is left with egg on his face. He's like looking really shameful now, what he said. He goes back to his city, into his temple, and his offsprings slay him with the sword. It's like they have felt that he's let them down, he's not followed their God maybe, but they end up killing him. So that's his sad ending. But on the other side, King Hezekiah, He is exalted as king. They bring him gifts and they worship the Lord because basically they've been saved from the Assyrians. And now we're coming to the end of King Hezekiah's reign. He becomes sick and he's very close to death. And he prays to God for a sign to help him. And he's given a sign by the Lord, which, I mean, he shouldn't have really asked for that. He should just take note that once he's prayed, that's it. You know, the Lord will answer. So he's pushing his way like he's got to go above the Lord in different ways. So that's not a good sign. So God's wrath is over him. So he humbles himself to basically release himself from this wrath and the people of Jerusalem. Now King Hezekiah acquired many riches, including gold and silver. He had all that livestock, which he managed really well. You know, he got spices, his oils, there's the vineyards, there's the fields. It's like he builds up the cities, he's built this wall. Everything has just gone so up and up and up and up, and he has prospered during his reign in Jerusalem. He also stopped the waters of Upper Gihon, and he makes a tunnel down towards the city of David. So you can see, with God on his side, he prospered in all that he undertook. Now, when the ambassadors of Babylon come along to see him because he's done such well and, you know, he's been sick, so they go along in seeing how he's doing and how he's being so successful, and he just boasts, you know, he shows them all the riches, look at all of this and da 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 da. So this is not good in God's eyes. So it says God withdrew them from him. His riches were withdrawn because of this. And that was to return him to a loyal heart, a faithful heart to God, instead of getting deceived and distracted by his wealth. Then as we close chapter 32, we learn he dies, he's buried in the city of David, and he is honoured by his people because he's been such a great king overall. And then his son, Manosea, takes the reign, and that closes chapter 32. So in chapter 33, we open up to the world of King Manosea. How old is he when he becomes king? He's 12 years old, and he reigns for a total of 55 years in Jerusalem. Now, sadly, he does evil in the eyes of the Lord. It's like such a shame. All of that work his father has done. We've got a 55-year reign coming up with an evil king. And he brings sins from the other nations along with him. So this means he is bringing like false god worship and all of these things. These are the sins of Manasseh. He rebuilds the high places that his father had taken down. He rebuilds the altars that his father had taken down. He makes wooden images of Baal and he worships them. He not only puts up these false images, but he puts them in God's temple as well, and in God's courts. So he's like surrounding himself with these false idols. He uses witchcraft and mediums and spiritualists, and he seduces the people of Judah to do worse evil than any other nation before him. So you can imagine God's wrath is strong. He is so angry right now. But first he attempts to try and talk to the people of Judah and the king, you know, to get them like to turn their ways, but they will not listen. They're too far gone. So he raises up the king of Assyria, who gets his captains to set off out there to Jerusalem to go and get King Manasseh by hook. And they do. They capture him and take him back to Babylon with them. At this point, Manasseh repents. Obviously he will. He's captured, he can't do anything, and he's like, please, Lord, please help me, get me out of here. Whatever he's doing, he is repenting to God of Israel. And God does, he shows him mercy, and he returns him back to Jerusalem. And at this point, Manasseh knows that the Lord is God. So he knows now that the God of Israel is real. That is the God he should be worshipping. So when he returns, he sets to work and he starts basically getting rid of the false idols. And he starts getting the temple of the Lord back to the way it was, back with the burnt offerings, and back to worshipping God as he should be, and the people as well. But the high places are not removed. However, they are worshipping the God of Israel on those high places and not the fake gods. So it's a start, I guess. He also fortifies the cities of Judah, and he puts the captains in each of those cities, so the army captains. So he's really starting to create some strength around him to protect him from his enemies. And he also builds a wall outside the city of David. Now, to find out the rest of the acts of Manosea, return to the book of Kings, you'll find it there, and also in the sayings of Hosea. So Manosea then dies, he rests with his fathers in the city of David, and Ammon, his son, is the next to become king. Now Ammon is 22 when he becomes king, and he reigns for only 2 years in Jerusalem. Sadly, he only did evil in the eyes of the Lord, so he's kind of starting off similar to his father, because he begins by worshipping those carved images that his father had made. And he doesn't humble himself before God, he just carries on going beyond his laws and statutes and commandments and beyond them. Now we learn at the end of this chapter that his servants conspire against him and they kill him in his own palace. However, the people, when they find out this has happened, they kill everybody who was involved in the king's murder, and then the people make Ammon's son the next king in line, and his name is Josiah. And this closes our final chapter for today. So we have had a real transfer around. We've had such hope in the last video of a turnaround, a lifting of prosperity of Israel in the Judah side of camp. But one king, Manosea, comes in and he just destroys all of that good work. And he's kind of repenting towards the end, and then his son comes in when he dies and he's just dropping it another level. So we are on the descend. We are definitely on the descend now of the Judah tribe. And we've got a few more chapters left now in the book of Chronicles, so we will see where this ends. And if you've read the book of Kings, you'll know where this ends. But we're getting that little bit more detail. So if you want to find out that detail, stay tuned for tomorrow's video, because that's when I'll be back again soon. So take care, thanks for being here, and hope to see you soon. Bye.